maybe also bring us along. How would someone who has never heard of Condo experience it today? How would someone experience Condo as a user, as a customer?
It's basically about bringing people together. That's the slogan, touch grass, bringing people together outside and doing cool things together. We are the antidote to AI and celebrate the beauty of life, basically.
Maybe looking to the future, especially given that AI development, what's your thesis personally and also Condo's thesis for the future of experience?
Yeah, I mean, like that's our topic. We love that topic because we think AI is going to give us a lot of time back, and people really need to relearn how to live. And what are they going to do with their free time? It's going to be experiences. Like the answer is experiences.
Do you think personal brands will have more relevance, or what other forms of content and brands will have more relevance, let's say, in tomorrow's world where anyone can just create a soulless brand? Do you know what I mean?
Everyone can create a soulless brand, yes. And I think that's why brands with legacy have the opportunity to thrive even more. I mean, if you look at Porsche and all their driving experiences around ICE driving experiences, or last week, the FAT driving experiences, I mean, they're booked out. 2 years ago, it was fine to just do something because people were just craving to do stuff together. But now I think you need to go more and more into, okay, what kind of edge or where can we go into that really makes us unique or that really fits this brand, so that the experience is super nicely connected between the brand heritage and what we're actually doing out there and what the people are feeling. It helps a lot if you have a cool legacy because you can create the coolest stories around that and the coolest experiences around that.
Okay, welcome to another episode of Be Well. Today we're joined by Jordi Walder. He's co-founder of Condo, Germany's largest sports community by now. And formerly, Jordi was actually a tennis professional or professional tennis player, and is now building with Condo the infrastructure for in real life formats. Jordi, it's amazing having you here with us today, and I think you can clarify a lot better what you're building here with Condo. Maybe before talking more about Condo and what you're building currently, it would be lovely if you could also maybe briefly introduce yourself and share a couple of words about your background and your upbringing.
Yes, for sure. Thanks for having me. Where do I start? Maybe I'll start with, I mean, I finished my A levels pretty basic, but then, yeah, as you said, I went down the route of being a professional tennis player. Basically played professional tennis for almost 3 years till I was 21. When I was 21, I decided, okay, maybe I'm not going to be the next Roger Federer. So maybe I'm going to do something different than playing tennis. And that's where I started studying. I started studying data science, so statistics and computer science. It was my second biggest passion next to sports. Finished that and did a semester abroad during studies in Hawaii. Played college tennis there for a year. And that's where I met my co-founder for Condo. That's where I met Kian. Basically surfing in Hawaii. We both shared the passion for sports, shared the passion for the outdoors, shared the passion for having a good time with other people. And that's basically how it started. We then came back to Germany. It's almost 3 years ago now, I think. Almost 3 years ago, came back to Germany, and that's when we started Condo.
Yeah, amazing. Thanks for that introduction, Jordi. I think one point that really stood out, obviously you mentioned is that you, and I mentioned it in the introduction, is that you have a, let's say, professional tennis background. I think that's not very, I mean, it's rather unusual. I mean, not a lot of people manage to get to that level playing, I mean, not only tennis on that level, but also professional sports in general, playing it on a high level. Maybe, I mean, we'll quickly get into Condo and what you guys are building right now. I'm very curious, but just on a personal note, I mean, that experience must have been very, impactful, I assume, and also playing in Hawaii later on. What key lessons from that time maybe have shaped you personally and maybe also professionally, what you're building now with Condo and your tennis career?
Yeah, I think like building a business and being a professional tennis player, like there's a lot of things in common that I didn't know at that time. I think the biggest lesson or the biggest learning, or I would always do it again, is that while being like a professional athlete, you're basically building a business, but you're not aware that you're building a business because the business is like yourself. The business is you putting yourself out there and trying to level up and manage to get better and make a living out of like what you love doing. Um, but the other hard lesson is also that when you take something that you love as a kid or that you love, like playing, and take it in a professional setting, that, yeah, sometimes fun is going away. Like sometimes it's not that fun anymore because you're struggling with like paying the bills. You're struggling with like, okay, am I good enough doing that? Like, is that what I'm supposed to do? Like all those questions that you're having where all of a sudden was actually like a big issue for me. You're stepping on the court and not thinking about, let's just hit that ball and have fun. But you're thinking about, I do have to win because I need to pay my coach. I need to like go to the next tournament. I need to like get that amount of prize money and blah, blah, blah. And so, yeah, there's definitely like a couple of lessons that when it's getting tough, that you're like out there on your own and that you just need to like continue grinding basically. And yeah, always be positive and always like push yourself because there's no one like who can really push yourself except of you.
Maybe, I mean, now we know a lot more about your personal background. What I'd be very curious about is, and you alluded to it slightly, that you met your co-founder in Hawaii. I'd be wondering, what was that moment? Was there any personal incident that you guys decided to build actually Condo, or what was the founding story like? What was sort of the origin story? What triggered you guys to actually build something in that community sports space?
Yeah, the founding story behind that was, I mean, it's a completely different topic, and not a lot of people know about that. But the original founding story is Kian and I were really deep into crypto back then, into like the whole this NFT kind of stuff. And NFTs is actually a lot about community. So a lot of people are hanging on Discord and like chatting there and connecting with people. Kian also used to build communities on Discord for like alpine skiing communities because he's from the Alps. So we kind of connected based on that. And then Kian is also really good friends with our third co-founder, Tim, who is an influencer, a creator, and has a huge following. So the discussions we had was always around communities. It was around people like Tim with a big following. A lot of people were doing crypto scams back then. And we discussed what is the good and the bad about crypto and NFTs and blah, blah, blah. And one thing that was like sticking out was basically community. Like all those projects were about community. And um, Tim back then also had like struggles. Okay, I have so many people following me and I can talk to them through social media, but how do I actually build a community? How do I connect those people maybe? How do I bring those people together and have a bigger impact on those people? So that was the original founding story. It was basically about, okay, Kian and I hanging in Discord, being in those communities, being active there, having Tim like a big creator on social media and being like, okay, how can we connect those worlds? Because Discord, I don't know if you've ever been in Discord, but it's like super hacky and nerdy. And a lot of people from the mainstream social media side don't really know about it or don't have never really been into Discord. So it was like, okay, how can we merge those two worlds and basically, first of all, have Tim as a big creator and help him support him, like engage his audience, bring them together, make them do sports together, like all that kind of stuff, if that makes sense.
Amazing. And so you just mentioned your initial co-founders. I think Kian is your other co-founder, and he's still on board. Could you maybe share a bit about their background? What are they sort of doing, and what is sort of their role at Condo?
Yeah. So Kian has a traditional business background. Kian studied at Uni Mannheim. He then worked in M&A. And yeah, basically a typical business guy doing his semester abroad in Hawaii. Tim also studied Uni Mannheim, so they went both to the same university, got to meet each other there, and he basically, yeah, left the lane of the typical business background and basically blew up with the Elevator Boys during his studies, and from then on went on to the full-time creator path. And roles within Condo, I mean, in the beginning, we were building a digital product. So my background was always fully on product. I was building the product and leading the tech team. Kian's background mainly everything business related and sales, and Tim's background, obviously, like marketing. How can we build a good go-to-market strategy? All that kind of stuff. I mean, roles are changing in a startup. So the more Condo evolved, the more it got into something different. Into Condo is it now that it's now, our roles changed since we don't really have a tech product anymore. I'm way more into operations, strategy, stuff like that. Kian is still big in sales at the end of the day. But we all way more focused on operations now and running the communities, running the experiences.
You mentioned it earlier that so you guys started off a bit with another, let's say, focus within Condo, and now it has evolved, let's say, throughout the time. Could you just slightly mention how or what Condo was all about, let's say, in the early days, and what it's all about right now? How would I mean, we want to focus obviously on Condo as of today. I mean, on a startup, it's obvious that things change and there's a lot of pivots, but maybe also bring us along. How would someone who has never heard of Condo experience it today? You know, how would someone experience Condo as a user, as a customer?
Yeah. So first question, the biggest difference from the past, at the beginning, we tried to build a digital home for those people. And then quickly switched after half a year to being like, okay, we actually need to build like the physical home for bringing people together. So if someone has experienced Condo today, it's basically about bringing people together. That's the slogan, touch grass, bringing people together outside and doing cool things together. So as you mentioned in the beginning, sporting community, basically. We are the antidote to AI and celebrate the beauty of life, basically. We've been active in more than 10 cities, basically having local hubs where you could do runs every Sunday. Runs were part of the ritual that were happening every Sunday. And then we would do all kinds of special experiences, basically partnering up with cool brands and bringing cool experiences to the people. So it could be everything from a hike in the Alps to an underground street race in Munich to a Pilates session in Frankfurt. Basically always bringing like a special edge to it and putting the people in the center of it. So it was never about, yes, sports, it is about sports, but it's mainly about connecting with people. So most of the people that experience us are people that are new into a city, that are people who are looking for new friends, maybe people who just want to meet new people. So it's really like just building in real life connections, and that's how you would usually experience us. You would be like, okay, I'm in Berlin, I'm just checking out the Condo run, I'm meeting a cool person, and all of a sudden the next day you're experiencing the city together with that person, basically.
And the thesis is, I mean, essentially that. I mean, loneliness is a big problem, obviously, right? I think that was probably a fundamental thesis that you guys are you riding the wave, let's say, to overcome this issue. Can you maybe illustrate to us, what are you seeing across society? Is loneliness the major issue you guys are trying to address with Condo? Is it something that you guys are trying to solve, or is it something different, or is it to what extent is loneliness maybe a problem in society that we're not aware of?
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, definitely on the first two slides of our pitch deck for a long time, it was always about the loneliness epidemic that we're basically in. So it's a huge topic that was always about loneliness epidemic. We want to solve that. We want to bring people together, and we want to like understand why it's that way, and it doesn't have to be that way. So I think it all started with COVID, right? Like that shaped us as a generation, like completely different. So that it was especially for people who weren't able to study during that time, and it was exactly like our age, like Gen Z, maybe a little bit younger, where you're usually making like all of your social connections during studies when you're meeting new people, and you don't have that time. You're missing like a fundamental part of like your social connections that you're going to have for like your whole life. So I think especially for that generation, you were able to see across the board that people were craving those connections, and that's the reason why run clubs were going crazy, why people we're enjoying it so much more to spend time with other people and having all those things. Like I remember like having this conversation with my parents where they'd be like, what the fuck are you doing there? Like, why would people do that? Like, why are they not just like going running with their friends, or like, why are they not just going out to a bar? And I was like, yeah, like our generation is a bit different. Like, I think you have multiple things happening at the same time always, you know, like you have the sport and wellness trend. People are not drinking that much anymore, so they're not going out to that many bars and clubs in the evening anymore. Then you have this whole COVID thing where people are growing up digitally and also don't want to approach people that much anymore. So there are a lot of things going on at the same time. And our thesis was that if we can make bringing people together cool in a sense of, okay, I'm not going there because I'm lonely, I'm just going there because it's cool, then that is going to work, and that is going to make people happy, and that is what people want basically. So you just need to be basically, you need to be the middle part that makes meeting new people cool again, and not just like, okay, I'm on this app to meet some friends. No one wants to show up anywhere and be like, I don't have friends, be my friend, please, you know?
Mhm,
So
mhm,
this was the whole, like we discussed this whole loneliness epidemic topic a lot. And I think like multiple things coming in, but the core thing is that if you build a cool brand around that, around bringing people together, people are just going to appreciate it.
mhm. Yeah, it's insane. I mean, to think about it. I mean, I think there's also striking figures that sort of say or that make apparent that, I mean, a lot of people have, I mean, for instance, never approached, or men have never, or let's say a large amount of men have never approached a girl in their lives, right? Or
Yeah.
are very lonely people. I mean, apparently this, let's say, pandemic has really had an impact on how people, maybe their social skills are not as developed, right? Because you
Yeah.
start off university and there was never this uncomfortable feeling, right? You can always get away from those uncomfortable feelings, and the sum of these uncomfortable feelings make you more social, right? And when you just leave that out, that's an issue. Or what do you say about that?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean, you can see that like at all of those events, like all those communities, how people are approaching either each other, and how sometimes they're connecting through those things, because they're like, yeah, it's so hard, like going into a social setting that was once supposed to be a social connector, but isn't anymore, because people are getting so awkward and so weird, and it's like you don't even know if you're like the burden is so big right now to be like, just be like, okay, I'm going out there and approaching people, because you're scared that, I don't know, you're being filmed, or you're scared that you're being awkward or whatever. So you're just being like, okay, I'm just going to be on my own. Yeah. So I think that is a really big issue. And I think one word that a lot of people are using in that kind of space as well is safe space. You need to create a safe space for people so that they can act that way, because I feel like with all the social media going on, there is no safe space anymore. It's not like, okay, I can just approach this woman, or I can just approach this guy because maybe I'm getting filmed. Maybe like it's not an appropriate setting, you know? So it was a lot about, okay, our experiences, our safe space for people to connect, because we are kind of the filter for weird things or weird people. Like, people know when they're coming to us, you have like-minded people, you have a cool group of people, and you can just be yourself and connect with other people.
Amazing, amazing. I would love to talk a lot more about, let's say, I mean, I know what you guys have achieved up to this moment. You've brought together tons of people in, let's say, not only German cities, right, around Europe, if I understood it correctly. And yeah, it would also be very interesting to sort of understand later, okay, let's say based on that, what you guys have achieved up to this moment, what is sort of the next step? But maybe more, let's say broadly, more on a macro perspective, I'll be wondering. So I started off with the podcast about the business of health and wellness. And there was always this discussion, okay, how do we brand, or what word do we use to best convey to consumers, partners, investors what we actually do? And I'll be wondering, what is it in your case? Are you a fitness sports company? Are you an events company? Because initially you also wanted to sort of get into the social media space in a sense, but just with your angle, with your unique angle, obviously. What word would you use to best convey to customers, users, partners, investors, what you guys actually do? Well, is there any word that you can use to nail it down?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Because we struggle a lot, depending on who you're talking to, actually explaining what we're actually doing. I think a lot of people don't even know that this is like a business or a business case. Um, So I'd say for some people, we're a marketing agency because it's like, okay, we're connecting brands with the right people. But for us, we're really an experience studio. We're just focused on creating the coolest experiences and owning our own brand. So, but I think that's something we can get into. But like that's, if it's one word, it's an experience studio.
Okay, I get it. Interesting. But obviously, parts of that experience, I mean, experience, I think, sums it up quite nicely, right? Because experience includes sports, fitness, events, and all these kind of things, social media, or just, not media, but just social. Because you guys want to
Yeah,
bring, let's say, everything more into the analog, from what I understood, right? I think that's an important element of your business. I mean, now that we're living maybe in an age of AI, right? I mean, we're seeing every week that there's, new breakthroughs, new models. Um, and we sort of have this impression that it's going to affect us humans profoundly in the way we live, work, connect with each other. I think no one really knows what is going to happen, right? What industries are going to be, let's say, impacted most profoundly. Maybe looking to the future, especially given that AI development, what's your thesis personally, and also Condo's thesis for the future of experience? What do you say about that?
yeah. I mean, like that's our topic. We love that topic because we think AI is going to give us a lot of time back, and people really need to relearn how to live. And what are they going to do with their free time? It's going to be experiences. Like the answer is experiences. And what we think, what our thesis is, where we're heading, and why experiences are going to be important, is that people want to experience authentic, real life things. So it's pretty simple. And I think one of their core human traits is exploration. And therefore, I think, especially in AI, we're going to appreciate everything we have in the real world more and more, and we want to experience that. So I think it's that simple. And if you can be the one owning the experience economy, for a new generation, then for me, this is one of the most interesting places to build in right now, because you have a lot of people in AI trying to optimize our world, trying to optimize the workplace. So that's why we're really focusing on optimizing experiences for humans so that they can come to us when they have the free time.
Absolutely. You just mentioned the experience economy. Um, Can you give us maybe an overview how the experience economy sort of looks like right now? I mean, do you see there's sort of a lot of room for growth in this space? Do you feel like, I mean, obviously you do because you're building in that space, but could you bring us along why there's so much, let's say, room for growth? I mean, I like the term the experience economy. I mean, that is quite, I think it puts it quite nicely, right?
Yeah,
Where you guys are heading.
yeah, definitely. I think that the experience economy, I mean, that's why I like the experience. As you said earlier, the word experience is huge. Experiences can be lived digitally, they can be lived offline. Experiences are basically everything we're doing. And I think the experience economy is really reshaping at that point. Um, because I mean, if you go back in time, we started traveling, right? So one big part of experience economy was basically just, okay, let's build houses so people can travel somewhere. And let's just, like Jochen Schweizer, for example, let's just build some cool experiences people can do. Pretty simple. And then we have the TV, so people can consume things. So the experience economy was basically, okay, I go outside, I can do some things, or I'm just going to watch some stuff on the TV. And now we're heading in an age where people going to have more time again, and people care more about brand and authenticity and creators and personalized experiences, all that kind of stuff. So I do think that where the opportunity is that we're going to have a new generation who want to, first of all, experience stuff that is like super focused on sporty wellness kind of stuff, and also want it personalized, since this is what AI is bringing to us, right? It's going to be personalized for everyone. So I think there is the opportunity basically to build a brand around all of that, a brand that focuses on sport, wellness. It was always our focus, and personalized experiences for people so that people can actually do what they want to do, and that it feels like, okay, this is custom for me, what I'm going to do here. I think this is like the one side of the experience economy, what people are going to do with their free time. And then with the other side of what people are going to consume, because people are going to continue consuming stuff. And that's also part of the experience economy. And there you also see this big reshape of this industry from people are pushing more into live formats. Live is getting cool again. You have like the DAZNs, the Netflix, where you just had this live climbing thing, where really though, like this live experiences are being pushed again. And I think all those things that are blowing up on YouTube, where it's about live experiences of people doing the craziest shit with the longest ultra trails or whatever. It's all about pushing the human limits, pushing the limits of what this earth has to offer. And living through those things and experiencing those things firsthand, so that maybe first thing is you can see it and then you can do it, if that makes sense.
I mean, it's interesting. I saw recently an article from The Economist, and they were sort of saying that the rich are spending on experiences. And they sort of showed an index showing how much, let's say prices for in real life events have increased since the pandemic. And it's just crazy. And I mean, if you look at maybe other, let's say, things that people have spent money on, which was maybe in the old days more, let's say, luxury items, that has also lost value in a sense, because it's just, it's just something materialistic and maybe also not as exclusive, because nowadays anyone can have maybe an exclusive bag, and it's just maybe people are becoming a lot more aware of collecting experiences instead of just luxurious items, right? That are just not very sustainable in terms of their value.
100%. Definitely. I think that's big part of it, that people definitely want to collect moments. They want to experience those things. I think, but that's like a whole, I mean, I love talking about this topic, but I think that's like a whole generational thing of where you can look at like, okay, how wealthy are people, how wealthy are nations, how are nations developing. I mean, we are lucky to be in a place of where we started working with, okay, we can work remote, we can care about where we're working, what we're doing, blah, blah, blah. And like generation of my parents was more like, okay, let's work and earn money and buy that house and raise the family. And they didn't have that time to really be like, okay, what is the coolest experience we can do next week? Let's fly out there and do it. So I think it's like also a whole shift in the generation coming up, that all those stuff gets worshipped more, because we got the luxury to have the time and the mind space and the opportunities to go everywhere and spend our time however we want to. But I mean, it's a great shift, but I think it's gonna get bigger and bigger.
Mm-hmm. Another interesting topic, and we've discussed it earlier, and you alluded to it. Obviously, content plays still an important role. I mean, still, let's say, media and digital content plays an important role also for you guys at Condo. But correct me if I'm wrong. In an age of AI-generated content, do you think maybe personal brands will matter even more? I mean, back in the days, the legacy brands were Porsche, Rolex, all these historic brands, they had really legacy. And now in an age of AI, where anyone can just, generate a brand, a brand label, do you think personal brands will have more relevance, or what other forms of content and brands will have more relevance, let's say, in tomorrow's world where anyone can just create a soulless brand? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. But I think that like the last words is basically answering your question for me. Everyone can create a soulless brand, yes. And I think that's why brands with legacy have the opportunity to thrive even more. Because if they're really going all in what they're standing for, they can create the coolest stuff ever. I mean, if you look at Porsche and all their driving experiences around ICE driving experiences, or last week, the FAT driving experiences, I mean, they're booked out. They're like, people love it. People want to do it. So I do think personal brands matter, yes. But I think what matters more is that you're really leaning into what you're standing for and creating the coolest shit around it, that people can actually experience. Because if you can actually experience it, then you're gonna like tell your friend about it, and then next year you're gonna go together and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's what we are also really leaning into, is that 2 years ago, it was fine to just do something because people were just craving to do stuff together. But now I think you need to go more and more into, okay, what kind of edge or where can we go into that really makes us unique or that really fits this brand, so that the experience is super nicely connected between the brand heritage and what we're actually doing out there and what the people are feeling. So I think that's the opportunity. And I think there it helps a lot if you have a cool legacy, because you can create the coolest stories around that and the coolest experiences around that.
So you would rather say, instead of proclaiming that personal brands are going to be the key driver, it's rather experience brands? Because that
Yes.
could also include personal brands, right? Because it's all about authenticity, and it's not just about a person, because persons can also be boring or unrelatable. But persons can also be, let's say, experience driven or authentic, and let's say catch someone. Or what are your
Yeah.
thoughts there?
Yeah, that's why I really like this. We really like this more, and that's why we built Condo the way we built it. We never really built our personal brand around it, because we felt like, okay, the next wave of brands, personal brands do matter, but if you can create a brand around a community, around a feeling, around something else, then this is way bigger than yourself, and it can grow bigger than just yourself. So yeah, that's why we are big on building an experience brand, because you can build around a niche feeling and exactly deliver that feeling in every touch point with the brand. And you can't do that with a personal brand, because you're still yourself. And therefore you're always tapping into kind of a special community or audience, since you're still yourself. While with an experience brand, we can be really focused and basically integrate community in a smart way that then becomes the brand. Like, our brand was always the 10 people that were always showing up, These people are the brand, and then become personal brands for your brand, basically.
And maybe, let's say, applied to Condo more explicitly, what role is content currently playing? And maybe also, what's the plan? What role should content play? We talked a lot we already talked once before, very recently, and we talked about this A16Z idea of content or media, right? Because they are saying, just for the audience, it's something that I've been thinking about a lot. And so A16Z is sort of, their thesis is that every company will become a media company, essentially, right? And for them, media is not only about broadcasting news or content, but it's rather about, or they see media as infrastructure, or maybe as an enabler of an ecosystem and a platform. And in their case, it's for VC investments. What media-enabled platform would you like to build? Hope that question makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think the core of it is attention. We're still living in a world where everyone is fighting for attention, right? We're all fighting for the same viewers, for the same people. So we still need content, and we still need to get people's attention. And I think that's the core of it. It's getting harder and harder to buy attention. So you really need to do cool things to get attention. And that's also where, like, this whole A16Z thing is coming in, and where we are thinking the world is heading to, is that it's not enough to just host a run anymore, but you need to create a cool experience offline that can be amplified online. So that's why in 2026 and going ahead, we're big on building experience formats, in a sense of connecting experiences with cool storytelling. So thinking the experience more of like a movie design kind of thing, where you're just like, okay, what is the coolest stage I can create? And then just get cool people, get communities in there and document it, so that it can be transferred from offline to online. And I think then you have the most powerful bridge that you can build, because then you can build a flywheel around, we're hosting cool experiences, we're building cool formats around it, we're reaching millions of people online, we get those people to do cool stuff again in real life. And yeah, that's the only thing we always wanted to do, get people to do cool stuff in real life. So yeah, we are big on long form content on platforms like YouTube. I think, like, this whole short form stuff, like fast cuts, and like this whole AI slop that is being pushed, is not going to last for long, and that people are going to come back to those authentic storytelling stuff way more.
I mean, I can really resonate with the element of bridging, sort of, enabling a bridge between online and digital content, or or maybe leveraging content as a bridge to in real life events, essentially, right? Or into
Yeah.
the analog. I think it's really a nice way to think about it. So online is still going to be relevant, but more as a mechanism to get people into real life formats or into real events, into real communities, into real jobs, and into real gatherings. Maybe that's something that was sort of, there was also this internet the dead internet theory, you know? Sort of people are assuming that the internet itself is just becoming irrelevant because of all the slop, and AI is accelerating that. So yeah, interesting to see that. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's why like you really need to ask yourself a question. As you said earlier, like if everyone can create everything basically, what is gonna still be there? So you're only gonna be there if you can create something real where people know it's real. That's why I think you need to start with a cool experience in real life. People always want to experience that. And then talk about that. And then build around that. I think that is gonna be the key, and that is what we're building and what we're excited about. To think media that way. And also I think what you're doing, like basically being a host of stuff, talking about things, and really like building your personality in this niche, and building like something that's bigger than yourself, in this niche where people can really relate to. So I think this is gonna, like with all those things that are coming back. I mean, 10 years ago, everyone was watching MTV. We had a lot more shows going on. I mean, we don't have them nowadays anymore. Like I'm just thinking about the Stefan Raabs of back then, like the Turmspringen, like I don't know, all that stuff that we have in German TV that was big
Yeah.
once, and I think is now coming back at some point in a new way, in new formats. But there's gonna be a new MTV out there. I think there's gonna be a new ProSieben at some point. There's gonna be something built for the new generation, that is gonna live online and be transferred to offline, or between online and offline.
That's a cool comparison. Maybe also a good gateway to my next question, talking about go-to market and what you guys are, let's say, planning. I would like to talk a bit about growth and scaling for Condo. Maybe just very quickly, if you could outline how, let's say, traction has been until now. I mean, you guys are live for 2-3 years, I think. Maybe if you can share any learnings or metrics, that would be wonderful. And besides that, maybe also share a bit about your, let's say, next milestones that you guys are looking to tackle with Condo.
Yeah, I mean, numbers about the last 2 years, we hosted more than 1,000 experiences, with a core team of 3 people. We had more than 200,000 touch points with people at our experiences. We also created a lot of impressions online. But yeah, basically the key learning was that it's really hard to scale physical experiences at some point. It's really not the easiest business to build, but that was a beautiful time, especially like the touch points with all the people. It's crazy, like seeing those people in real life. Like, I think it's not comparable to, you see, I don't know, like 10,000 people watch your story versus 100 people in real life. Those 100 people in real life feel crazy compared to that. But that was basically the numbers and kind of scale that we hit at some point, and where it was also really hard to scale further, because what you would need to do, you would need to go into more countries and basically scale those operations. We would have needed to hire more people, and that's not really what we wanted to do. So we asked ourselves the questions: what are the milestones for the next years, and how can we amplify what we did? Because what comes with that scale of like this in real life business is also that it gets less personal at some point. For us, it was always about like those people having a good time. And when you're running a business, you still need to focus on the numbers of the business, obviously. So it was kind of hard having that impact while scaling, or trying to scale more aggressively. And that's why the discussion we just had about the media angle, where we're like, okay, we need to do something differently to get a bigger impact over the next couple of years. And that's where our experience comes in, that we hosted this July together with On and Top 4 Running. We did an underground race in a skate park. and documented it. It was basically local communities racing against each other. It was a super cool and real life experiences. A couple hundred people were there watching it. We had more than 60 athletes racing there, and we documented it, and the people documented it. And it was our experience with the most impressions we ever had. So end of the year, we decided we're going to go big on that. So we're going to go big on formats that where we can create a nice storytelling around it and also drive millions of impressions online. Because what we said earlier as well, the goal our goal is to get people into the real world. And we do think that content is important for that, and that content can really motivate people to go outside. So this year, we're really focusing on sort of like lighthouse experiences. So not creating those 1,000 experiences anymore, but really have to focus on, okay, what are the things we can do? What are cool formats we can host together with cool brands that are sick experiences offline that can be amplified to millions online and motivate people to get in real life, basically.
Hey, I'm waiting for that MTV format or Schlag den Raab format. I
It's
think
coming.
that's, I
It's
mean,
coming.
yeah, yeah. And I think it's interesting because I feel like I think there's really a need and a gap. I mean, especially I mean, I assume the German speaking region. Maybe I'm missing out on something, could be, because I'm not really active on, let's say, TikTok or like the
Yeah.
really young generation, but maybe I'm wrong. Please correct me if I'm wrong and I'm overseeing something, but I feel like some content formats are not as present as they used to be back in the days. You know, I mean, Schlag den Raab and all these things, they were huge events or huge shows, right? I mean, do you have that in that form, or is it sort of something that's starting to become outdated and there's need for new formats, especially in German-speaking region or Europe?
I think like especially in the German speaking region, there is there's space for that. There's space for new formats. I mean, you see it now with stuff like Baller League coming up. I mean, Baller League, not a good timing because they just announced that they're leaving Germany. But you see those formats, like people are craving new stuff. Like they want to see new things. And I think there is a lot of outdated stuff, but a lot of proof that stuff like that works. So yeah, definitely. I think there is a huge opportunity. We're starting with the German market. I mean, the whole DACH market, and we're going to launch a format this year, actually in Q2. And we're really curious how this is gonna work out. But yeah, I also do think there's a huge opportunity for brands just to think more in shows in a way as campaigns, and just do cool things, put people in there, and let them cool do things. And I think that can work really, really well. Because it worked in the past, and we see it in other countries. And you see it on Netflix, where you have more and more competitions where people are doing like I don't know, crazy stuff to find out who is the fastest runner or who's the best lifter, or you have the Mr. Beast kind of videos that are still going crazy. So yeah, I think big opportunity to build in that space.
Amazing. Very excited to follow up on these things. Maybe, I mean, we're coming to an end, but I would also like to ask you personally. I mean, so you've been now building Condo for a while. You're an entrepreneur. What has been maybe, very much challenging during that time, and what have you learned? Let's say during your entrepreneurial journey that you would like to share.
Yeah. I think especially building in that space now, like in the space we're building, it's hard in the sense of because you're not the most hyped topic when there's all this AI stuff around. So you really need to find people who get the vision and who understand the vibe and like understand the importance of what we're trying to do. So definitely the biggest learning, I think there are two for me. One is I think I would have given up like multiple times without Kian, especially who is basically here with me all day every day in the office. And the second thing, but that's basically the same, that you cannot rely on anyone else giving you confidence or helping you out or whatever. At the end of the day, you should always be aware it's only you and maybe one or two other guys or girls who are supporting you. But like this is really a game of finding the energy from within and not having external validation for a long time. not like getting the rewards you think you want to get, like not having quick wins. It's really just about the beauty of the process and the beauty of struggle sometimes and the beauty of being on your own and building your life, kind of. I think as long as you understand that, it's the most fun journey to be in.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing that. Maybe another quick question before the last question. Is there maybe a misconception that outsiders oftentimes have about Kondo? Or just wondering, I like to ask that question.
Yeah.
So it's sometimes an interesting
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, I think for sure, as I said earlier, I think a lot of people who also went to our experiences never thought that this is actually a business and that there are people behind it building it all day, every day. Um, a lot of people think that like, or know like the hard work that is going into that, especially only with like 2 or 3 full-time people behind it. So yeah, and also like getting a vision behind it, like where we're heading and why we think it's important what we're doing, and why it is so important to us. So yeah, that's why stuff like that is good to get like a message out there that is usually not being shared on our socials or anywhere else.
Cool. Jordi, hey, is there anything else you would like to share with either your community or the, let's say, listeners, audience of the podcast?
Not really. Thank you for having me. And I hope that you're like building a next big show in the media business here, because I think we need stuff like that, and stuff like that is going to be good for all of us. And there's a big opportunity doing it. So I'm really happy that you're taking the lead in that space.
Thanks, Jordi. First, need to improve the internet situation here a bit, but we'll fix that.
Yeah, you're gonna fix that.
No, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much for your time, Jordi. Really appreciate it. And yeah, was really exciting to hear your thoughts. I mean, yeah, give us an update sometime.
Yes, we'll do. Thank you for having me.
Great.